Welcome to another segment of What Women Bring, a closer look, where I have the opportunity to sit down one-on-one with our wonderful honorees. And today I have the distinguished pleasure of having a conversation with Dr. Patrice Black Davis, who was the Education Honoree for What Women Bring 2022. Dr. Davis, Hello. Thank you. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
I am so excited to get to know a little bit more about you. I found you incredibly fascinating at the event, and I found you to be very candid. So this is just going to be a conversation. We could just be real, just talk about whatever.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the fact that you were our Education Honoree. And so just tell us about what it is that you do at Trident Tech.
Well, again, thank you. And thank you to the YWCA for the honor of being here and being honored. And not just for me, but for the work that I do in education.
Yes.
So what I do, particularly at Trident Tech, I'm the Vice President for Student Services.
Right.
Well, what that means is that I have financial aid, I have admissions, I have recruitment, the counseling center, the advising hub, testing, all fall up under, under my purview. It is a lot. It is a lot. But we try to do what we need to do to make it happen. It comes with having a good team. And so I am blessed with a good team and try to provide leadership for them. I have been doing education, which is really hard to believe, for 32 years now.
Wow.
So obviously education is a career that I enjoy doing. I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
I have been at 7 different colleges.
Wow.
So I have been at every type of college except for an all-male institution. I've been in an all-female college, which is where I actually graduated my undergraduate from. And at that college, I was the only African-American in my class. So I had some decisions to make then. And really that experience and going through that time of my life as the only African-American student, and then working for that college, I felt like I was empowered to do certain things.
Yes.
And it just clicked for me that I was actually going to transfer. And I thought, you know, I could be a big fish in a little pond, so to speak, and I have much more of an imprint on the college, like a small school like I had. It was only 110 of us in my class, but still being the only one.
Right.
And it's hard to believe, even in 2022, still the only one. So as my bio indicated on my application and the information on me, I'm the only African-American vice president at the president's cabinet. So that brings a level of responsibility too. And one that I embrace because I can say, have we thought about X, Y, Z? Or that's a good idea, but. All those type of things that I try to bring to the table, sitting around as the only African-American vice president. So a lot of hands in the fire, all kinds of things going on at one time. But education has certainly allowed me in where I sit to speak to different audiences, speak to certain, especially young Black females, and try to encourage them. One of the best things that happened at the luncheon was a young lady came up to me afterwards and said she wanted me to be her mentor.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, absolutely. And I told my mom, who was there as well, I said, this is why I do what I do. It makes it all work. Because people, as cliche as it sounds, for her to be able to see me sit on the stage, she could say, I can do that.
I can do that.
And again, still needing that type of encouragement in 2022. It's unfortunate that we need it, but it's great that I think that
it's great that we have it. And it is. We just attended a Women in Defense conference, and we still need that. Like, we still need to have these environments where it's women. That we can support each other, because we have challenges that we all have challenges, but we women have challenges, and we Black women, that's a whole nother set of challenges.
Exactly.
So it's interesting that you said you went to an all women's college. I did too.
Oh, did you?
And there were 750 women, and 35 of us were Black. So
that's really interesting.
And same thing. Even in middle school, I was the only Black student. I was actually the only Black person on a whole campus of hundreds of students and teachers. So it just plays itself out, but you do get to be that voice.
It does, and it molds you.
Yes, it does.
Because it does. It builds character.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You have to be a strong person, male or female, to sit in a classroom and see that you're the only person that looks like you. And also the uncomfortableness of your faculty member or advisors that, even if it's from a good place, that they don't want to mess up or say the wrong thing.
Right.
And you just say it. Yeah. What is it that I need to know as a student to get out of here?
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. So that's, and I always say I want to make sure that I make it a little bit easier for the person coming behind me. It's one of the things that I think I'll tell you, Mitchell mentioned at the luncheon, climb and lift.
Exactly.
And
she's
maybe
good for that.
I can hit a hurdle and make it a little bit easier for the next person, that they don't have to deal with it, because I've already been there to kind of, okay, we're not going to do that kind of thing.
Well,
so.
I am very proud of the young lady that asked you to be her mentor, because I missed so many opportunities to get a mentor along my career, because I thought someone would see and know that I needed it, and I never asked for it. So when I talk about mentorship, I always tell women, you have to ask.
Yes.
You have, because no one just knows what's in your, in your heart and in your mind. So kudos to her for seeing you and wanting to, and asking you to be her mentor.
I get phone calls from people all the time that I wasn't sure that they saw me. And I think I mentioned that at the luncheon, that you don't really ever know who's watching you.
Exactly.
The same way you're always being interviewed. It's so funny to me, people put down references, and I tell them it really doesn't matter. If somebody's going to call somebody, if they know some type of connection, to make sure, let me just say, tell me about this person.
Right.
What's Patrice really like? You know, I know what her resume says, but what is she really like?
What's she really like?
You know, and that happens all the time. And so I always tell people, no matter whether you're at a basketball game or whether you're at a conference, you're always being watched.
Right.
And so make sure that you are presenting your best self. You know, that doesn't mean that you fake it or and you're not saying what you truly believe. Just be mindful
that
of
people are watching,
that
and
people
that you could really
watching.
have an influence on someone.
Yes.
So with all these hats and the pressure of being the only and being this mentor, what do you do to keep yourself going?
Yes. Well, one of the things, and I'd like to mention this, like my faith is very important to me.
You talked about that.
And I think it helps keep me grounded. If nothing else, if something wonderful happens like this honor, I'm just like, it wasn't me. I didn't do it by myself, and I appreciate that. So I try to have that, to always be at the forefront and keep me grounded. And even in the mornings, just saying, okay, we got this, right, God? Let's go for it and do this type of thing. Also, different outlets, being a member of a sorority, being very active in my church, having interests outside the job. So that it's not like, I don't have anything else to do, so I'm going to work till 8 o'clock or different things like that.
Right.
I haven't been remarried that long, and so I consider myself still a newlywed. And so we try to do things together, and that having a partner certainly helps to, okay, Patrice, I'm going to let you vent. Now get it over with. Let's move on. So that helps as well. And there's work to be done, so that kind of keeps me going as well. But you really have to have a sense of organization and having a good team. Because if you have a good team, you're not trying to do the financial aid because you have a director that's the director of financial aid. You're there to advocate for her and help her and ask her some tough questions like, but what about this kind of thing? Or the director of admissions, all the directors up under me to say, I'm going to give you the resources that you need to do your job, because I'm not here to do your job.
I trust you to do your job.
There would be no way I could do that, nor would I want to either. And that also allows me, when I have an opportunity for professional development for those individuals, again, that hashtag climb and lift, to say, okay, but have you thought about this? Or let's give you this project so we can stretch you a little bit. I just had that happen Thanksgiving break. I asked someone, because I was taking some time off for Thanksgiving, and I appointed somebody to be in charge of the division. And the initial was like, whoa. I said, but it'll help you, because guess what? You need to update your resume today to say, I stood in for the Vice President for Student Services in her absence.
Absolutely.
And he was like, oh, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, we have to do those types of things.
That's a nugget, too, to update your resume. When things happen, go ahead and update your resume. Go ahead and make it relevant. That's something you've actually done. Then you don't have to sit back and think, now, didn't I do something else?
And believe me, I lived that today. Because when I was listening to someone, I think one of the speakers said that, and I was like, had I had that just kudos list or things that I did, I wouldn't have, okay, now at this college we did what? And at that college, that kind of thing. It's just, the beauty, the blessing of being young in your career.
Exactly.
And taking advantage and listening to folks. I hate to say it, but you listen to elders like me to say, this is what I learned, and if I had to do over again, this is what.
Do you like being in the role now of the elder that people listen to, as opposed to being because if you've been doing I'm in 32, 33 years of my career, you're 32 years, so that means we were probably young leaders.
Yes.
30 something years ago.
Exactly.
And we were hopefully listening to some of them. Now we're in the other.
Yes.
And it took me a while to be comfortable saying, "You calling me?"
But look at that, right? Like, because of who we are as women, we're taught the humility and all that. We say, "Oh, me?
Yes, you calling me?"
So I had to get past that and say, "Okay, they are calling you.
Yes.
So what are you going to say that is worthwhile to them and it will help them in some type of way?" And so, yes, to answer your question, I do like that role. I especially like being able to share my story so that they can maybe pull what they need from the story. Everyone has their own individual story, so I don't want someone to think that they need to do it my way.
Right.
But hopefully in listening to the different steps and the different challenges and the different successes, they can say, "Oh, I'll take a piece of that," or "I'll take a piece of that," and then use that to help me. So yeah.
Someone asked me the other day, I was doing a workshop, and they asked the question and answer time, and they asked me, what would I tell my younger self if, in a career wise. And for me, it would be to speak up sooner.
Yes.
That would be, I really stayed in the background and thinking that my ideas weren't good or that no one would want to hear them. So what would you tell your 30-year-ago professional self?
To make sure, like we talked about, that we keep the list.
Keep that list.
Keep that list. And the other thing, when you were speaking of speaking up, that still happens to me now.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm sitting around a table and I'm thinking, okay, you need to jump in, and then sure enough, somebody will say something else. See, you should have said that 10 minutes ago. I had that idea.
Right.
So
it's daily. We have to that self-talk.
Yes.
I talk to myself in my head a lot.
It is self-talk. And now I will also say, maybe thinking back then, not to be so, how do I want to put it? It was just sometimes, because I was going to say to temper certain things so that people, it's not so much about your quote unquote attitude.
Oh, yeah.
But it's about what you're trying to say. And the reason why I hesitate, because I'm like, you have to be careful about that too, because you don't want to say to somebody,
don't stifle it. Don't be your authentic self.
Parameters are you talking about? You're too aggressive, that kind of thing.
It's a balance.
It is a balance.
I think particularly for women. And again, at another conference, we talked about a stereotype that you may have internalized about whatever identity you have. And for me, it's the angry black woman syndrome that I fight against. It's like, well, if I say it like this, then I'm going to be that. It's such a delicate walk.
Now, one thing that helped me, and I guess it's probably been about 10 or 12 years ago, and I so appreciate her for this, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in a meeting, and I did get a bit defensive and aggressive. And so one of the other directors, who is also African-American female, came to my office.
Okay.
And hearing it from her, it had some authenticity to it in terms of, now, you were right. Let me just say that. But you have to be careful about how you're right.
Exactly.
And did people leave the room more fixated on your approach than what you were actually saying? So you have to find a way to balance that. So I think that the lesson for that is to have advocates, and they don't necessarily have to be African American. I'm not saying that, but an authentic, sincere supporter of yours is important when that person is in the room. And when they have something to tell you, listen.
Listen, yeah. So we never stop the listening part.
Right.
We have to continue to listen.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And also, as much as I say, well, I have my doctorate and I have all these years of experience, I'm qualified for these things, and not to get frustrated if other people kind of springboard ahead of you, and you just continue to concentrate on you and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And it still holds true. Sometimes you have to be double qualified just to be invited to the room, but that's okay. You still have to do that.
Yeah,
those type of things.
It's just how we were raised. Yeah. We were told that early, and so far it hadn't changed.
No, not really.
Not really. So let's talk about a couple of your key issues. Okay. We asked all the honorees to, tell us some things, and I know you have a lot of things that you focus on, but one of them was the financial literacy for African American women and girls. Tell me.
Yeah. And for my lens, when I said financial literacy, I was really speaking of from an educational standpoint and making sure it is not necessarily a 4-year degree.
Yes.
I mean, we at Trident Tech, for example, we have the CDL program, and we have young women who are finishing that program and making $65,000 a year right out the gate without a 4-year degree.
Right.
But yet she still was credentialed. So when I, think about what you need to do to be able to support yourself.
Yes.
And so think about not getting into a lot of debt, not going to a college where you're going to come out owing $100,000 when there are other options.
Right.
Now, if that's just what you want to do, you want to go to that college, that's your number one choice, and you're not having the scholarships and the grants to do that, then of course you do your thing. But just really think about from a financial standpoint and your future, are there other options? And so that you are not, 50, 55 thinking, what if I had done this? I might have been able to buy a house instead of renting, kind of things.
Yeah.
Or buy that car. It might not have been a 2022 car, but maybe it's a 2015 and you're not getting yourself in a lot of debt.
That's right.
Because that debt and not making the right financial choices can hurt you in the long run.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean by the financial literacy part. And also the financial aid process itself is very cumbersome sometimes. And so knowing enough about that process so that you can have the best opportunity in terms of financial assistance.
Yeah. That can be a complicated. I hear a lot of people who talk about like the frustrations of college. Yeah. It's generally in that financial aid area.
And I will say that the federal government has done a little bit better. The FAFSA, which is the Federal Application for Financial Student Aid, is a little bit easier. It's a lot easier than it used to be.
Oh,
when
that's
I was coming up, it was like, oh my gosh.
Crazy. It's like doing your taxes all over again.
So it is a lot easier, number one, and it's sooner. So you don't have to wait till January. You can do it in October.
Okay.
And so that gives you time to get your information to that college so that you're first on the list, first come, first serve.
Right.
Again, being literate enough about the process.
Yeah.
And some people saying, well, I'm not going to do it. I don't want the government to know. I don't want that school to know my business. Well, you need to do that for a reason.
Exactly.
And so, again, being financially literate enough to know the process and know how it can benefit you and not handicap yourself is important.
Now, are the high schools teaching this? I mean, how would one know? Because, you can make so many mistakes with this process going right into college and not understanding. Is there some coordination with the schools and the school counselors? There
is. And again, there's so many programs, and I want students to take advantage and really look out for those type of programs. Our counselors, bless their heart, they're doing so much. But there are programs like our TRIO programs.
Yeah.
Our TRIO programs are in the schools. Okay. They're helping our
is that like Upward Bound?
Upward Bound. Our EOC program is available. They help with the FAFSA. Okay. We have FAFSA days. You just walk in there. You don't even necessarily have to be going to Trident Tech, even though we'd love for you to do that.
Right.
They don't ask what school you're going to. Okay. Other than putting that showing you how to put that on the FAFSA form. So there are programs that assist you with that. We have the state of South Carolina has what they call goals. South Carolina Goals program, which is just based on applying for financial aid, time set aside to fill out your FAFSA. So there are programs, but again, you have to know.
You got to know.
Unfortunately, you have to know to ask. So that's, again, falls back on the financial literacy in terms of what are the resources out there? Have I asked the right questions? My counselor might not necessarily be available when I go in there, but let me do some type of search or to ask.
Yeah, and nowadays there's so much information, but you just have to go looking for it. It's not going to just show up.
And I say high school students can Google all kinds of things.
They can figure out, do everything. They can YouTube video, Google, and learn everything. So you can learn financial literacy or at least understand that there are programs. I'm glad to know that the TRIO programs, because a lot of those kids are first generation college, so the parents don't even really have the financial literacy to understand.
One of our TRIO programs just got back not too long ago from a trip to California. And our director, Antonio Robinson, all of our directors do a great job. Antonio Robinson is the director of the Upward Bound Math and Science program, which we have 2 of those programs at Trident Tech. So you have Upward Bound Math and Science 1, Upward Bound Math and Science 2. Oh. And he took both programs of students to California because, yes, there are a lot of great colleges in South Carolina, North Carolina, but he wanted to expose them to different things. And they did a college tour, but they also did cultural type of things that the students might not have otherwise been able to do. But that's a program free of charge to the students.
You're right.
It's, of course, in the interview process and application process, but that's a fantastic opportunity for students.
Great opportunity.
We have the Educational Talent Search Program where the counselors are going to the schools. They're right there. Any questions that students have about going to that next level, they're there to do that. And then once you get to Trident Tech, we have the Scholars Network program. And they have stipends and grants available to help students even once they have their financial aid in place. If they are participants in the program and they meet certain guidelines, then we're able to provide them with some grants if they qualify for that as well. Again, it's a matter of knowing the information, and a lot of times, especially with our Scholars Network, we are begging students like, look at us, come we're here, because we have a certain amount of students we have to serve in order to keep our federal funding. Oh, okay. So we want to make sure that students take advantage.
Y'all have done a lot. Every time I hear more and more about what's going on at Trident Tech, I'm like, they're doing some really good things.
Sometimes we can be too shy about
about bragging. Don't want to brag.
I'm trying to get the trio piece in there. I'm thinking about all these other things. Because we have the free tuition.
I've been seeing that. Did that start before? You all have always done that. I remember during COVID, you all were doing, I saw some emails about the free, but were you all doing the free tuition before?
We were doing free, not before. We just done free maybe the past 3 years or so.
Okay.
And then it was specific programs, and now we've gone through all of our programs. Now on the back end, there's a lot of work with piecing different programs together, and South Carolina residents are the ones that get fully free tuition. But that's another opportunity we hope students take advantage of. But the other thing is students are finding jobs too, so and that's a good thing. Yeah. But also don't forget about getting those credentials because you never know. When you might need them. But again, the financial literacy piece is just really making sure that even after you leave college, are you comfortable enough to make the right financial decisions for yourself moving forward. So.
And that debt is important. Those credit cards you get as soon as you turn 18, it's like, whoa.
And we do have a specific financial literacy program that's run out of our financial aid office. It's a cash course. And Nicole Brownlow, who leads that up, she does a really good job of having a course, free course for students to think about, do you have a budget? Right. Are you saving? Right. How you can save money, make good decisions moving forward. So that's all a part of that financial literacy as well. Awesome.
So another one of your issues is the political engagement of African American voting and voting power, and we're on the heels of the election, and we'll be having another one coming up. So
I feel like we're in that
constantly is pre or post voting these days.
Although I will say I'm very, very proud to see more young folks being involved. And my interest is not just young people; it's just really anybody that is eligible to vote. When you think about what has been sacrificed in order for us to do it, it's really disappointing that you have to really beg people to go vote and see.
I'm always disappointed at the statistics of the number of registered voters that didn't vote. Yeah, it's like.
So part of that for me comes through my church involvement because I've been very fortunate to have pastors. I'm from North Carolina, and I had a pastor at my home church that is very involved in social justice, very involved in before the state legislature tried to cut this out with the souls to the polls type of thing. And now here in Charleston, I attend Charity Missionary Baptist Church because I was very specific when I moved to Charleston 9 years ago to continue that same type of involvement from a church level. So my pastor, Nelson B. Rivers III,
yes, ma'am.
Very involved.
Yes, he is.
And it's just so wonderful to be able to have that same leadership and the shepherd of our flock at Charity to be be just as involved in social justice. And both of them saying that there was no person more radical than Jesus himself in terms of social justice.
Right.
And so we follow that mantra. So I do have student organizations, student life reports to me too. So but we have to be very impartial.
Right.
But we can also still say, vote, register to vote, try to get our students registered, provide opportunities for folks to come on campus and set up tables and again, be very
nonpartisan.
Yes, but still, no matter who you vote for, you need to vote.
You need to vote. And you need to know what the folks who are running for office, what their values are, so that you'll have an idea of how you want to vote.
Yeah, doing a little research.
Yeah.
You know, and then not being upset about certain policies when you didn't vote.
Right.
So again, part of that education piece, whether it's financial literacy, whether it's your political interests, all of that is a part of getting that right education and a credential. So it comes together, and it's also grounded in my own personal experience as well. So that's another good thing about being in my role, that I can have all my interests
all come together. One basket.
Yeah. So, and that's what I think an education career does. One of the questions from luncheon also was, what would you say to someone who was entering your field? And one of the things I would have said was that education is so wonderful because you can go off in so many different directions when you're talking about starting a career in education, but and it's flexible, it's impactful, you can do all kinds of things with it, and it's certainly after 32 years, it's not one that I regret at all.
Awesome. Now, you've done so many things. Is there something on the horizon, personally or professionally, like what would you like to do that you haven't been able to do just yet?
You know, I hesitate because, it's like, well, I don't want to come off as like, that kind of thing. But also you should speak, as they say, speak it into this.
That's right. That's right.
Now, I have thought, because I've done so much in higher education, and one thing I haven't done is to be a president of a college.
Okay.
And so if that is part of my assignment, as they say, I wouldn't mind doing that type of leap. I've been fortunate to work for a president who is very progressive, and I have learned a lot from Dr. Thornley. And so the next step might be that. If not, I certainly have a lot of opportunities where I am, and being in the role that I serve as a vice president. So there might be other projects, initiatives. One of the things that I would like to see try to do, and maybe take the lead on that, is to have more on-campus events that are tailored or come from a female lens.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe some type of conference or something that every year someone says the same way they're looking for the What Women Bring. Right. They're saying, hey, what is Trident doing in terms of women leadership and bringing women from all over on our campus?
On your campus. And it's a great campus. We really enjoyed being there.
So those are the kind of things. What else can we do to do more in terms of community and statewide, and maybe even countrywide, that people will say, oh, there's a great women's leadership conference that Trident that's bringing in some wonderful speakers, and they're having wonderful workshops, and so I want to go.
Well, if y'all ever need a partner, you can count on us. We love the partnerships, especially as it relates to promoting what women need and all of those things. So did you always want to be in education? Did you start there?
An interesting story. I had no idea what I was going to do. I thought I was going to do broadcasting, actually.
Really?
And I started out at Salem, which is where I did my undergrad, all women's college, Salem College, as a communication major. I did an internship at the local television station. And I decided right away, I don't think I want to go there. Which is also what internships are supposed to do. So I was very grateful for my internship my junior year, because I was like, okay, I need to shift a little bit with that. I took a public speaking course, and I use this example, and even I graduated in '89. Gosh, how long ago was that? But I still remember like it was yesterday. My faculty member told me that I had an issue with public speaking. And she actually said to me, whatever you decide to do, it should not involve a lot of public speaking. And she gave me a tape, and it was a cassette tape back then. And she said, take this cassette tape and practice your enunciation. And there was words on there like tooth. And so I put it in my car, and I listened to like 2 words, and I was like, what are you doing? And I threw that thing away. I was like, please. But
wow,
the fact that she did not think that I belonged there was really motivation for me to show her that I did think that I belonged. And so that was one thing that got me like, okay, I need to be more confident and more outspoken. And then the other thing was, it was an article in the newspaper about one of the student organizations that had a focus on Black students at the time, and the student newspaper they said our description wrong or what it was we did. So I wrote a letter to the editor, and I just went all in. Like, this is ridiculous. We can't even get the name of our organization. We only have one organization. I'm the only Black student. You can't even get that right.
Right.
And so it was printed, and then the dean of admissions asked me to come meet with her. And she was like, you're right. We need to do better. We're not diverse at all, but you could help us with that. And you could do a better job of recruiting more students that look like you. And so the next year I was hired, and that's how I started. And I've been in higher education admissions recruitment ever since. Wow. But it just took me speaking out and, as they say, speaking truth to power and having my my moment with the, to the people kind of thing. Y'all are crazy, but I don't care. I'm just going to tell you how crazy you are.
I went through my militant phase too.
yes. And so, and that's what it took for me to be like, you know what? I wanted this place to change, and I'm going to have to be the voice of that change. Yeah. And if I'm going to do that, this is one way I can do it, by working in the admissions office. Yeah. And then, like I said,
it went from there.
Yeah.
And so what was the change? How did it change?
Well, they hired me.
Yeah, there you go. Check.
And that first year, I brought in 10 African-American freshmen, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it was 10% of more than 10% of the freshman class, because it was only around 100, like about 90 that year that came in as freshmen. But that made the campus very uncomfortable. And there were things that were said to those 10 that some of them were going to transfer. And so we had to work through that, and I had to, and the being that I brought them there, I was often the financial aid expert for them. I was their counselor. Yes. My mom still jokes about, and some of them say, your mom's Sunday dinners were great because we weren't getting that on campus. We weren't seasoning anything. It was like, so the church, I picked them up for church. Anybody want to come? If you want to stay for dinner, they went to my mom's house for dinner. All those kind of things, and they were probably the most successful even to this day. So proud of them. For one, hanging in there, but also being very successful, and showing that we do belong. Yeah. And so from there, it's grown, and Salem is very diverse today. It's like, this isn't the same college. And I actually sit on the board of trustees. Wow. So that to me is a full circle moment.
I told you do everything.
Yeah, I'm getting tired just talking about it. Just kidding. So the fact that as a board member now, I just feel like, I remember I was married at the time to someone who was in the military, so he was gone a lot. So my dad took me to class one day, and he just stopped. And I said, "What's that?" He said, "I'm just amazed that I'm dropping my daughter off at the front door when a few years ago we had to go through the back door to make deliveries." Wow! And so I was like, "Wow, that's pretty profound." Yes. Yes. so Salem has come a long way.
Thanks, Steve. Well, like I said, you fascinated me at the luncheon. This has been fascinating. I've learned so much about you, and I'm feeling everything you're giving.
Wonderful, and thank you for all the great work you all are doing.
Thank you. We're proud of it.